So you're thinking about starting an aquarium. And if you've been doing your homework, you've probably heard that a 50-gallon tank is the absolute ultimate sweet spot. Whether you're a total beginner or an experienced fish keeper, honestly, that rumor is completely true. It gives you this incredible flexibility for stocking fish without the crazy, overwhelming demands of a massive, room-sized setup. But before we dive into the really fun stuff, picking out colorful fish and decorating your new underwater world, we need to shatter a massive illusion right out of the gate. A lot of people just assume a 50-gallon tank is basically a slightly larger version of a desktop fishbowl. And let me tell you, that assumption, that is exactly what leads to total disaster before a single fish even touches the water.
Because here is the wild reality of what you're bringing into your home. When I first saw this number, I honestly couldn't believe it. That innocent-looking glass box will actually weigh a crushing 600 pounds once it's fully filled with water, substrate, and decorations. Just think about that for a second. 600 pounds is roughly the weight of a large motorcycle, just sitting right there in your living room. That means your standard living room furniture, like that cute bookshelf or the TV console you ordered online, it simply won't cut it. If you rely on the max weight label of standard furniture, you are literally risking a catastrophic collapse that's going to ruin your floors and completely end your aquarium journey on day one. You absolutely, without a doubt, must secure an aquarium-specific stand rated for at least 650 pounds. This is definitely not the place to cut costs.
But once you do secure that proper heavy-duty stand, you unlock the absolute magic of this exact footprint. A standard 50-gallon tank measures 36 inches long, 18 inches wide, and 19 inches high. And what's amazing about this specific volume of water is that it acts as a massive stability buffer. You see, in the aquarium hobby, smaller is definitely not easier. If you make a typical beginner mistake in a tiny 10-gallon tank, like, say, accidentally overfeeding your fish or missing a water change, the water chemistry crashes incredibly fast. But in a 50-gallon system, all that extra water volume dilutes the problem. Life-threatening temperature swings and toxic pH spikes barely even register. It gives your fish time to recover, and it gives you the time to actually fix the issue before it becomes lethal. It's basically the ultimate safety net.
Now, with that extra space, there is a huge, huge myth out there that we need to bust right now. When you walk into a pet store, you see all these tanks full of adorable, tiny, 2-inch juvenile fish. And the myth is that they'll just stay small, magically only growing to the size of the tank you put them in. The reality? Absolutely false. Those cute little 2-inch babies are going to grow into massive adults based entirely on their genetics, not their tank size. Buying fish just based on how they look as juveniles, without researching their adult dimensions, is a guaranteed way to massively overstock your tank and create a highly toxic environment. When you actually look at the data for some of these popular beginner fish, it is genuinely shocking. Take the common pleco, for example. It is sold absolutely everywhere as this tiny, helpful algae eater. But in reality, it grows to be 18 to 24 inches long and produces a ridiculous amount of waste. Or how about the bala shark? It reaches up to 14 inches and needs way more horizontal swimming space than our 36-inch tank can provide. And then there's the absolute wildest offender, the red-tailed catfish. Sure, it looks cute when it's little, but it grows to over 4 feet long. Eventually, that fish requires a 1,000-gallon system. Even a 10 to 12-inch Jack Dempsey is a super risky choice because they are incredibly territorial and will literally destroy their tank mates.
So, what should you get? Well, building a thriving community means looking for species that naturally use the open space without ever outgrowing their home. You want to aim for up to 25 small, peaceful fish. You could have this beautiful, tight school of 10 to 15 neon or cardinal tetras, which stay perfectly small at under 1.5 inches, or a really lively group of bottom-dwelling cory catfish. Just a quick side note on the cories, though, they are highly social, so always keep them in groups of 6 or more. If you really want an algae eater, skip that monster common pleco and pick up a bristlenose pleco instead. They max out at a very manageable 5 to 6 inches. You could even toss in some cherry barbs, which stay under 2 inches, or a single male dwarf gourami to act as this gorgeous, colorful centerpiece.
Okay, so you have your ideal fish list. But the absolute crucial secret before bringing any of those perfectly sized cute fish home is mastering something called the nitrogen cycle. It turns out this is the single most important concept in all of fish keeping. Basically, the nitrogen cycle is this biological process where beneficial bacteria naturally grow in your tank's filter. When fish do what they do and produce waste, it creates ammonia. Ammonia is highly toxic and will literally kill your fish within 24 to 72 hours. But those beneficial bacteria act as an invisible army. They convert that deadly ammonia into nitrite and then finally into a much safer compound called nitrate.
Establishing this bacterial army is literally the only thing protecting your tank from a deadly, rapid ammonia crash.
So, how do we actually do that? Turning that cycle into an actionable plan comes down to 5 really simple steps you can easily follow before buying a single fish. Step 1. Fill the tank and use a water conditioner, like Seacom Prime, to neutralize all the chlorine in your tap water. Step 2. You have to feed the invisible bacteria by adding liquid ammonia or fish food. Step 3. Use an API master test kit to test your water every single day. Step 4 is just the waiting game. You wait until your tests show absolute zero for both ammonia and nitrite for 48 consecutive hours. And finally, step 5. Slowly stock just 3 to 5 fish per week. Oh, and here's a massive pro tip for you. If you use seeded filter media from an already established tank, you can magically cut this agonizing 4 to 6 week waiting period down to just 1 or 2 weeks.
Now, when it comes to housing all that life-saving beneficial bacteria, there is an amazing rule of thumb in the hobby. Always size up your equipment. There's a saying, a filter running at 60% capacity actually cleans better than one running at full throttle. Undersized filters are pretty much the most common cause of chronic poor water quality. If a filter on the box says it's rated for 50 gallons, it is highly likely to underperform when faced with a fully stocked community tank. Instead, you want to target a filter rated for 75 to 100 gallons, one that pushes roughly 200 to 300 gallons per hour. A high-capacity canister filter is going to easily handle those real-world bioload spikes right after feeding time, and it'll run quietly and efficiently while doing it.
Let's shift gears and talk numbers, because we need to be totally real about what you're getting into financially. To successfully run this ecosystem with that heavy-duty stand, the high-capacity canister filter we just talked about, and redundant heaters — by the way, running 200-watt heaters is a genius move, so if one fails, the other saves your fish — you should budget between $200 and $600 up front. The 50-gallon tank actually represents the absolute best dollar-per-gallon value in the mid-range category, mostly because once you jump to a 75-gallon tank, equipment costs skyrocket. But remember, the spending doesn't just stop on day one. You also need to budget $50 to $80 every single month for food, water conditioners, replacement filter media, and general upkeep. To protect that financial investment, and more importantly, your fish's lives, research highlights 4 fatal beginner pitfalls to watch out for. We've talked about overstocking too fast and undersizing the filter, which, as we know, will crash your nitrogen cycle. We've also talked about buying incompatible species without checking their adult sizes and temperaments. But the most insidious mistake? Skipping your weekly water changes. A 50-gallon tank requires a 20 to 25% water change every single week. If you skip just 2 weeks, the nitrate levels climb. And while nitrate is way safer than ammonia, high levels act as this toxic, immune-suppressing stressor. Your fish will get sick faster and recover much slower if you neglect those weekly changes. Bringing this all together, it really leaves us with one massive question. Knowing there will be a 600-pound weight sitting in your living room, understanding the strict water chemistry required by the nitrogen cycle, the upfront costs, and that weekly commitment to water changes, ask yourself, are you truly ready to take the plunge? Because fish keeping isn't just throwing some tap water into a glass box, it's literally about engineering and maintaining a delicate, thriving underwater ecosystem. It is incredibly rewarding, absolutely, but it demands respect and preparation.
If you've answered yes to that question and you are ready to do this the right way, then you have a fantastic journey ahead of you. Head directly over to the TankZen blog to check out their comprehensive step-by-step 50-gallon tank guide. They break down the specific gear recommendations, deep dive into the exact species profiles we mentioned in this explainer, and provide absolutely everything you need to start your aquatic journey with total confidence. Don't guess, use the facts, build your ecosystem, and enjoy the incredible world of freshwater aquariums. So, the only question left for you is, what kind of vibrant underwater world are you going to build?